Yep.
Hello, and welcome to Making Sense of It. I am Mona Duncan, your moderator, and this program is for certified members of reality therapy and choice theory to present some dialogues that may shine a little light on something that previously had seemed a little, I'm not sure I really understand that, so I can make some sense of it. Well, this is a busy time. We're getting ready for the upcoming convention in St. Louis. And so they didn't have a speaker today. So I said, well, I'm going to step in and do this because I gladly jumped into it because I want to talk about how much I appreciate Dr. Glasser's genius and how effective his suggestions have turned out to be again and again and again. So let me share the screen and I will, but then in trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about, I knew the subject, of course, but how to actually put it into words was a little confusing. So I want to share with you some of the thoughts as it was going on. And that is, so here, I thought, well, I'm going to talk about when choice theory becomes truth. And then I thought, no, that's kind of heavy because maybe someone that doesn't realize that all we need to do is realize the power of choices that we have within us, that may just seem too much. And then I thought, well, I'll do it with when choice theory becomes fact or when choice theory becomes effective. But those just didn't seem to resonate. So then I gave it a topic, kind of a definition. Choice theory, the theory that you embody an internal system of choices to change your thoughts, actions, health, and feelings. But yet that seemed a little bit not as clear as maybe it could be. So then I thought, well, I'd entitle it theory, choice theory, the theory that our thoughts manifest, produce, become a concrete depiction of what we were thinking about. And then in turn, our thoughts direct our entire body system. And even though we may not see it on a day-to-day basis, it is directing the outcome of our life. Because what the choices that we make really do depend upon the flavor of our life, the smoothness of it, the frustrations of it has a lot to do with the choices that we make. So when theory becomes what? I was thinking when theory becomes fact, when theory becomes what? So then just looking at the thesaurus, I looked at what theory means. And it means truth, fact, a model, a concept, a system, an idea, a notion. I mean, there's so many spectrums. There are so many layers. There's so many different lights and insights into everything that we look at. So, and then also to realize that not only does, and the reason I like to take words and see other meanings for them is because it gives us a broader scope to expand our own thinking, not just to what we're hearing or seeing, but that as we look at and see all the different words that could be associated with and relatable to another word, such as theory, then it begins to broaden our mind and broaden our scope a little bit. So I thought about just making sense of it, the better choice benefits of the choices of choice theory. So this is a graphic that I used quite a bit with the prisoners in working with them and helping them to learn life skills and so forth. And I, I'm going to say this, and I would like for you, either verbally or in your own mind, to repeat with me 3 times and the actions also. And so the modem is everything is the way that it seems. Nothing is the way that it seems. Everything is the way that it seems. Nothing is the way that it seems. Everything is the way that it seems. Nothing is the way that it seems. So, does that make any sense for you? The thing of it is that our perception, we think it's what we see, it's what we know, it's what we're going to do. But yet it turns out to not always be that easy and that accommodating. So I was thinking about how to handle maybe some conflict and being relatable to it, going with. So here was just a few things to think about. Uh, I'm not going to do these conflicts individually. It's just that let's think of it as someone that's joining an armed forces, and there may be others that would, no, I don't want you to join the armed forces. Someone wants to change jobs, someone that is moving across the country, as opposed to the people that don't want them to move across the country, getting married, or something, just giving up and becoming a hobo. But whichever one of those, we're looking at something that's conflicting there. But it is realizing that others that we are engaging with, or that they are engaging with us, that they really do not need our permission. But deep down inside, because it is being relatable, they do need our blessings. They do need our good wishes for them, that no matter what the outcome is, because we are all free will agents. And so as we begin to look at our perception levels of the expectations, and then maybe also the levels of disappointment, that sometimes we look at those expectations and we're just really looking forward to it. But it's on a weaker, and sometimes we're just assuming, well, I already know, I've tried this before, and so I'm assuming this is what's going to happen. And then there are times that we become real demanding, that it's this or nothing. And then the disappointments, that's also in it's not just a 1, 2, 3. It's, there's that disappointment of being let down, just being really, really sorry and sad and disappointed. But then there's the disappointment of just being disillusioned. Oh no, I can't believe that the ones that I need to embrace me are not. And then also it can go down to just absolute devastation. And so that kind of brings us up to assuming. And I'm sure you've heard this before. Now, when we begin to assume, I'm right, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. When we begin to assume those things, we have a division. And it begins to make a little donkey of you and of me. We both become rather obstinate. We both become rather my way or my way. Both sides. And those thoughts of, well, I can fix you and it's my way or my way. And, all those things that we just begin assuming will be, that rarely ever takes place. And so I was looking at, Dr. Glasser wrote the book on psychiatry, warning psychiatry is hazardous to your mental health. I did this little, the role of science is to observe, not to interpret, and begin to look at what does theory mean, what does reality mean. And so the scientific level, will take an occurrence and really think about it and observe it and see why this happened, and begin to wonder why, or maybe I don't see how that could have come out of this, and then come up with some kind of a hypothesis, something that begins to look like it is doable. And then it comes out with a theory. And then it begins to kind of break off, to begin to look again at the same, at all of these things, continue to evaluate them, and then begin to test and prove. And then somewhere down the line, sometimes those things become law. Literally, they're put into written form and it becomes a law. And whether it's a written form or not, such as the law of gravity, that we may think it's not a law, but whenever we fall, you may realize, oh, yeah, that wasn't intended. It was a law that if I misstep, I'll fall. Anyway, continue looking at the similarities and then coming up as to whether it is a theory. And that theory is not necessarily a fact, but it's looking at the fact that it's repeatable again and again and again, and it is effective. So how do we seek to find reality? These are just a few thoughts. that we begin to look at that innate feeling we have that something is wrong or something is right or something is missing or something is, I don't quite understand this, but I want to know more about it. It may seem a little fuzzy, but it's innate. It's something deep inside that's trying, or as I was talking about yesterday or Monday, it could be us looking at our wisdom heart trying to give us some wisdom, trying to talk with us about something. And then testing your choices. As you begin to think these thoughts, begin to speak them into existence and see how effective they're working and how much peace they may bring. And then looking at your long-held beliefs and questioning those, like it was whenever we begin to look at things to see if we're going to embrace it or not. That maybe those long-held beliefs need to have a little tweaking to them. And then looking at a careful study and having an open mind that, well, I never thought of that before, but let me think about it. There may be some very good qualities within those thoughts, and evaluating the data and seeing and then comparing on all our findings, and then looking for the harmonies where they really blend together, where you hear the music sing, where you have the energy to go, and then question your differences and how the spectrums and how they all work together. And then always continue to seek information. More on ways of seeking reality is too often people think in a group because it seems safe. But as a group, those facts are watered down. Reality comes when group thinking starts to suffocate you. When hearing what everybody else is saying, and it's just like it's not resonating at all, there's something amiss here. Well, you're beginning to step into a different realm. When reality is becoming in charge of your thoughts and your choices. And that it right up front, you begin to realize that, oh, I made a choice that was not the best, that I could have made something different. So here's just a couple of activities I'd like you to think about. That before going to bed at night, look over the day and pick out at least one. I'd like to say 2 or 3, but at least one good thing that happened during the day, and self-evaluate it. Self-evaluate. Self-evaluate as to your feelings, your thoughts, the productivity, the things that could have been more harmonious. And then also begin to look at your major strengths and how you can find some new ways in which to use these strengths. That maybe instead of being demanding, well, anyway, just some ways to use your strengths. And we'll leave that up to you, because your mind and your wisdom heart, it will bring into effect the things that are for the moral good of everything. And so sometimes whenever we are in those situations and we don't know just what to do, it's to accept it, And that struggling to understand how circumstances became the way they are, while we're still focusing on all those present issues and present changes and present things that don't match, we have a tendency to become stuck there. And we become unstuck by just accepting. Acceptance is to understand that today's circumstances rose up or came into being out of yesterday's events. And acceptance is getting honest with what we can or cannot do about any of those things. Because we will believe what we believe until we believe something else. And back up on accepting reality is to challenge your long-held beliefs. But I always thought, and to kind of think about what is more important, opinion or what is really the facts are showing themselves to be. What is more important, a certain person's point of view or being relatable with and to that person whose point of view you're not quite in alignment with? But can you still be relatable with them because you are a human being and you matter? And then which is more important, going for the prejudice of this is the way I see it, or the freedom of, what if I'm not seeing, what if there's too much darkness there and I'm not seeing from the light side? And then acceptance is seeing the situation from your point of view. But that point of view that comes from you is based on all of the events of your life up to this day. It's those events that you remember. It's those events that we do not remember. It's those events that we remember with a little askew to it. Have you ever talked with your siblings and you remember birthdays or celebrations completely different from each other? Because all of our perceptions are our own. And so as we, from day one, they get mushed together into today's perspectives. And so sometimes we need to just really accept the fact and begin to look at what, going back to what we looked at previously, determining our major strengths and some new ways in which to use them. So here is a graphic that I use a lot in teaching basic intensive training. And it's kind of melding, it's bringing together reality therapy and choice theory. That theory explains ideas about scientific facts based on a large and diverse body of evidence. And therapy is a technique from a select school of thought to effectively help someone improve their life. And so it could be talk therapy, it could be fun therapy, it could be physical therapy, it could be medical therapy. But in looking at reality therapy and choice theory, therapy is what you can do a therapy. You can not do a theory. It's a supposition. So the theory in reality therapy is to always have an atmosphere of safe and a welcoming environment, to determine what the client wants, what your child wants, what your boss needs, what your coworkers need, to address those needs in a present behavior, to evaluate present behavior to see if we're getting what the need really is or what the presiding want is, and to make plans to change the behavior in order to get what we want, not change everybody else to get what is needed, but to change our behavior so that we can work in harmony with others. And then always to evaluate a new plan and to look at how committed you are to the goals. Whereas the theory is looking at our basic needs that all of us, all close to 8 billion people on planet Earth, have these exact same needs. It's just in keeping with our personality. Those needs of survival and love and belonging and fun and freedom and power. And the basic needs are genetic and they are universal. They drive our behavior. Those needs inside is the little kid that's yelling and screaming that I've got to have that. It's that little, it drives, and that all of our behavior is total. And so here is a little of how to meld all of these things together, looking at our needs and so forth. And this is let me go back. It's looking at the environment and the needs and then melding them together so that it's digestible, so that it's malleable, so that we can use it again and again and again. And this was a modification from Jean Seville and Lynn Samida. So I thought, well, the title of today's topic would say choice theory is applicable, flexible, and effective. So thank you for being here. And we will going to close the airways, and then we will have some discussion by those that are present. So thanks for being here, and many blessings to all.